Well, so let's just say it all started on a Friday morning around 6:15 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? EJ's at the gym. I'm, trying to get the kids ready so I could go to the gym by 7 and you could come home and drive them to school. And, I don't want to tattletale on my daughter, but let's just say she did something that was not cool.
She got in trouble.
And I was super angry about it because it's just not okay. And so I was angry and she was crying, but I was like, listen, you have to do your homework. So, I know it's like 6:30 in the morning and we're rushing, but sit down and do your homework. So then EJ pulls in from the gym.
I'm all on my post gym high. I'm feeling good, ready to take on the day.
And as soon as EJ pulls up, like Mia just starts sobbing again. Because normally, right, we've pointed out that we have this like little triangle going on where EJ's the rescuer. I'm like the persecutor. And Mia's the victim, and we kind of rotate in those little triangles.
Yeah.
So anyway, so she starts crying, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Oh, whatever. So I go outside to talk to EJ. I'm just like letting you know this is what happened. I'm very angry. It's not okay. They're doing their homework now. Like, let's just leave it.
Yeah. And so, I walk in the house and, we're one of these dynamics is that we're really working on with some help. Is me having Tara's back, not getting split. And because that's the most normal thing in the world that kids are going to try to do is they're going to, they're naturally, instinctively going to kind of try to find a way to play the parent dynamic. And I'm definitely the more sympathetic when, I think it's a little bit of a daddy-daughter thing as well. And so I want to come in and maybe be a little tough, right? And I start to say something and Tara's like, no, I got this handled, like just, go take a shower and get ready and let's just get out of here. And so I'm like, okay. And so I went totally into, which is a comfortable place for me, into just like, okay, problem solver. I just got to get everybody going in the directions they have to go in the next like 15 minutes and just get out of here.
Well, and for me, so when I'm angry, and I was not out of my window of tolerance, but I was definitely angry. Like, I'm not one to just like let it be known I'm angry. Like, I have to keep like, I can't believe this happened. Like, that's what I'm working on. Like, I can't just keep doing that to this poor 10-year-old. Like, I can't believe this. You better be scared. I am so angry right now. So like, I just can't let it go. And then I think EJ, I can't speak for you, but that something happens for you when I continue to like go in and say how angry I am.
Well, I just see I see that it's the message has already been through. Like the kid who got in trouble is already knows they've been in trouble. I also, it's, a little bit of, what is it? I don't know if you call it transference or whatever. I mean, that happens with us sometimes. We're like, when you're really mad at me, I'll be like, okay, I screwed up. I'm sorry. I apologize. And then you like keep needling on me. Like,
I'm working on that.
I can't believe that. And so, but then also, and we'll get to this. It also reminds me a lot of like what I went through as a kid, in that I really struggled in school. I didn't like it. I didn't do well. And it caused a lot of conflict within my family.
Okay, so basically, fast forward, EJ takes the kids. I'm like a wreck, but I have to come in here to do a podcast episode. And, I'm crying and I'm just like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm allowed to be angry because I could feel that EJ was mad that I was angry, or I didn't know that was my story. I'm like, I'm allowed to be angry. My anger is okay. I am learning this in therapy. Like, I am allowed to express my anger. So I get into our studio. And we have literally like 3 minutes before we're going to be interviewed, right, from some guy. And I was like, EJ, I just want you to know that I feel like my anger is okay to express. And EJ said, well, I feel like there's more skillful ways to handle it. And I was done. I walked out of this podcast room. I said, have a great podcast. I am out of here. And I went and I got in the car and I was just sobbing. Like, what does that even mean? And so EJ canceled our podcast.
Canceled it. And then, this is where we get into, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
Right? Because I called Tara up and she said, I said, no, look, we're not doing the podcast. Like, if you want to meet up in a few hours or whatever. I was because in the past, when we have these fractures, we don't come back together super quickly. I mean, it's not like it's days or anything, but it's definitely can be hours. And Tara was like, no, I can come back and we got to talk about this. And that's huge, because that's the beginning of seeing like that there's a lot of growth going on below the surface with us. And it's also something that like a lot of times I've worked with clients before where one of the primary areas of conflict is one person, when they get into fights, wants to just fracture and get away for like literally like a day or two, doesn't want to talk about it. And the other's like, I need to solve this problem. And we have to work towards it getting closer and closer to proximity, right? Because it's a win-win that we had a conflict, but we came back together and talked about it. So we've used ways like, I'm sure Tara, when she walked away, she can tell you what she did. I sat in my chair. I took deep breaths. I tried to get my heart rate down. I looked at what I had done, and I didn't get into, I can't believe that Tara's doing all this. Like, I turned the mirror inward, which is something that we talk to our couples a lot about. Like, if you do have a conflict and you have that pull apart, that timeout, that code word is a tool we use, that you use that time not to stay in your story about how the other person is crazy and is totally wrong, but that you look at yourself. And so I began that process of looking at myself.
So I came back, and I was like, my message was still very clear. Like, my anger is okay. Help me understand what you mean by skillful anger, because I'm not always going to be able to, I don't even know what that means. I know what being out of my window of tolerance means and not reacting from that place, but I don't know what skillful anger is. What I do know is in those moments when I have anger, which anger is okay, that I need you to accept me in that moment. And so, after talking and processing and me feeling like I'm crazy, that my anger is not okay, we were able to get to this very like subconscious, unconscious play that happens where I'm angry and I can feel EJ judging me or being afraid of it or something. And then I feel like I'm a really bad person, like I'm a monster.
Yeah, I mean, it came back for me. I originated the process of just looking inward, of just like settling myself down. But that sort of laid the groundwork for when we began to talk about it. And I was able to, even though, I mean, one thing that happens in our dynamic is the anger began with one of our kids, and then it sort of transfers over to me. And because you were at that point very angry with me.
Right.
And I was able to sort of like be with it, not get super defensive, not get super judgmental about her anger, but instead like talk through what happens for me. And what happens for me in those moments with in this case, one of the kids. And then also, I think when the anger's pointed towards me is it just reminds me so much of being a kid and knowing I screwed up, because I did, I would blow shit off, and I wouldn't do stuff, and I wouldn't study, and I'd lie and say I was getting a B and I was getting a D. And then just having like all this like intense anger aimed at me and really formulating a pretty negative relationship in childhood with one of my parents, where I didn't feel good for a very long time. And I had this like fear that is going to happen with Tara and one of our kids. And maybe also like, and I think you would agree with this, like unconsciously sort of joining with one of our kids, because I relate so deeply to, like, it's not easy for her. Like, like we have other kids in our family who like barely have to try, and they get like 98s and 100s on everything. And it's not easy for this other one. And I had the same thing. I didn't have a sibling that was like that, but like I had my best friend, like we would take the same test. We'd study for the same amount of time. He'd ace it and I'd get a C. And so I relate to that fact of like, ugh, like school sucks. Like why not cheat?
But here's like the important message is, had we not processed this out, this moment would continue to happen in various ways over and over and over, because now I understand, when I'm angry and I'm yelling at the kids, like, yes, that's still okay. I want my kids to know that mommy is mad, but that also triggers something so much deeper for you, right? And it's scary for you. So now I can get better at understanding why that happens. And it's not really about me, that I'm a bad person or that I'm a monster, and that my anger is okay. However, it can be more skillful. Yeah. But if we would not have that conversation, we would not have gone to that deeper message. I wouldn't be able to have had compassion. I would just be like, wow, I still can't be me. Like my whole life, I wasn't able to have feelings. And now but I didn't, because I believe in you. I believe in us. I believe that we can make it through difficult conversations.